Hey, everybody out there. It is Friday. Welcome into the latest edition of the Rightside on Campus. I'll be your host today, Donnie Rightside, along with my partner in crime at Jeff Nadeau. He is also known out there as the big man on campus. Got a great Friday show to go over. Major League Baseball in full swing tonight. Have some NBA action and some NBA updates on some key injury situations, NHL playoffs, and also the big man is going to lead us down the right path on what we can look forward to in football. Big man, welcome to the show. It's Friday. How's it going, big man?
TGIF, Donnie. Hey, I'm wondering, my big question is, heading into the weekend, will Jimmy McNulty come out of retirement to go up and find out about Aaron Hernandez? He would be just the guy to do it. We all know, if we've watched The Wire, we know he can solve things like that. Let's just hope there's no Jameson involved. But that's my big question heading into the weekend. Will Jimmy McNulty come out of retirement, head on up from Baltimore to Boston, and solve this odd suicide attempt?
Yeah, definitely some big things going on in the sporting world today. And we have everything that we can go over today. Straight Major League Baseball in rotation. Some interesting stuff yesterday. My April baseball season continues to produce profits. Yesterday, we hit on the Tampa Bay Rays at a -119 favorite, using the public again against itself in April, which has been fun. But again, once it flips over to May, we have a lot more concrete information that we can use, apply some numbers where the public is betting, as well as obviously who's hot and who's not, with some good information that way also. Big man, the board is ours today. What do you want to do?
Let's run into baseball. That's kind of the big thing right now. So let's do it.
You got it. What we'll do today, we don't have any afternoon baseball, so we'll go strict right down the rotation. We'll provide some insight on each and every game there. Sort of buzz over. Anybody there on the chat box there that wants to get involved or has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us anything there. Adam Lopez, Kyle, Guan, Jason, Joel, because good is dumb. There's a new one there for us, big man. So thanks for tuning into the chat box. Let's get it started today, big man. Let's go with the Philadelphia Phillies today and the Atlanta Braves. Two teams projected to be on the bottom of the National League East. Phillies coming off an impressive win last night over Thor, taking 2 out of 3, which is a rarity for the Philadelphia Phillies over the New York Mets. Atlanta's coming into town here. A couple interesting little points here, of course, with the pitching matchup. Bartolo Colon, the ageless wonder, versus Hellickson, who has molded himself into a Cy Young contender, albeit after 3 games. I'm joking with that one. Atlanta 2-6 here, Jeff, off a loss. The Phillies come in 1-4 after a win, so something has got to give here. Both bullpens mediocre at best, coming in the high 4s. Anything that you're giving a look at? I know you've had strong thoughts on Bartolo Colon to start the season.
Yeah, I hate Bartolo Colon. I'm not a fan. I think he's I think this is one of his last golden years, I guess you could say. Maybe he can go get an ARP card and fly off into the sunset. And this is no disrespect to Bartolo Colon, but don't you see him in his later years kind of as the guy that play shuffleboard, down in Miami somewhere, hangs out, maybe has a little restaurant. I feel
exactly. Yep, hanging out at the bar. People come in, he tells tales, the guy that everybody likes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, how Rocky was in Creed, where he had his own restaurant, and I think that would be great for him. Maybe hire a little chef, do a Cuban sandwich or something or whatever.
Yeah, it comes over to the table. Hey guys, you ever hear the story about when I hit that home run in San Diego? And
in broken English, it's really yeah, that would be awesome. I would definitely go to that restaurant. But as far as this game's concerned, yeah, look, I mean, Atlanta lost 3 in a row. They got to go on the road now, which the road hasn't been kind to them so far. I mean, 2-6 on the road. And look, the Phillies, if they're going to play well, it's at home. I mean, they've scored runs at home. It's just about they've been unable to keep runs off the board. That's kind of been the problem. And look, Atlanta is really hit or miss in the bullpen as well. This is a one where I think the Phillies will win. Am I crazy about ever laying any price, no matter what it is with them? Not particularly. If I had to play this game, I would go with the Phillies, but and that's just really a strict fade against Cologne, and I just think they're a better team at home if they're going to win. So I would lean Phillies. I'm only recommending that just because I try to give a play on every game, but this is not going to be a game I would look into betting.
Yeah, interesting betting action also, big man. We have 51% to 49%, so pretty even. A lot more money, however, coming in on the Atlanta Braves here. Total opens up at about 8, and I think that's about right. Not too many free passes tonight on the agenda, it looks like, with walks, hits, the inning pitch, otherwise known as WHIP. .824, both sides coming in. Hellickson a 1.59 ERA, and not overpowering either one of these pitchers. So there are going to be some fastballs to hit tonight. So we'll keep it moving. Again, myself, I don't have much on this game. I wouldn't want to lead you in the wrong direction. Next game up on the docket, Jeff, 9:53, 9:54 rotation, 7:10 Eastern Standard Time start. Tanner Roark versus DeGrom on the mound today. Looks like, Pinnacle opens up, if you checked out SBRodds.com, 139 to 140, it looks like. And that's probably what it's going to be sitting at across the board here. I see some 141s, 144s there. But if you're looking overall, DeGrom, 3 starts so far this year, Jeff, for the Mets. Doesn't have a win or a loss, hasn't factored in, but a stellar 1.89 ERA. Tanner Roark hasn't been too bad either. 3 starts. He's actually 2-0 to the number, 3.50 ERA, both whips under 1. So a good pitching match, what it looks like or tends to be heading in. Just a little bit of snippets on this game. Washington 10-5 versus right-handed pitching. The New York Mets 4-5 at home with that power pitching staff. So it really hasn't come up. Wind in the general direction coming in tonight, Jeff, at Citi Field, 10 miles an hour. Let's talk about this one. Any odds or ends that you're looking for here?
Yeah, listen, if you could still get 6.5, I think that total is way too conservative at 6.5. I get the wind and everything, but, you look at these pitchers. These are, other than DeGrom, Tanner Roark should not have a total at 6.5. I don't care, who's pitching. Neither bullpen has been good. Both these bullpens have been a mess. When you get the Nationals, a team that's hitting 285, you get a team in the Mets who their average isn't good, but they're scoring runs. 6.5 is a little too conservative, I think. If you can, you could still get that at 5 Dimes, Bookmaker, Pinnacle, Just Bet, Intertops. There's plenty of books that are still offering 6.5. I think that total's way too conservative with these 2 bullpens. Is DeGrom a guy that, is going to shut you out? He can, but I don't think he will against this lineup. I think this total is way too low. 7.5 would be a better number here. 6.5 is just too conservative with these 2 bullpens.
Yeah, when you look at 6.5, Jeff, when you break it down in layman's terms, you're looking for each team, if they can get the 3 runs, you got the over in that one. So what you're really looking for, again, is one team just to completely shut down the bats, 2 hits, no runs. But again, when you're looking at teams like this who can swing the bat, good point by Matt there on the chat box. Cespedes did leave the game early last night. Looks like his hamstring tightened up, so maybe he won't be a participant tonight in that game. But as well as I do with Washington, if they're going to face really good pitching, that's a lineup that can hit just about any pitcher anywhere. And all you're looking for, Jeff, we've seen it again last night. You didn't think the Phillies would be able to score on Thor. All it takes is one swing of the bat. 2 guys are on base. You double down the line. You got 2 runs in early, in the first 3 innings, and that sort of sets it off. I agree. I don't have much on this game. Betting tickets, 60% on Washington. The New York Mets at 40%. A lot more money coming in on Washington. Line opened up on SBR odds about -140. And again, it's sitting somewhere in that range. So I don't have too much on this game to tilt the tide. If you're asking me if I had to pick a game here, I always like to lean on the New York Mets pitching staff, especially at home. DeGrom pitching very well to start the season. But again, it's not one it's willing to put my money on. Any thoughts before we get off this game, Jeff, on that one?
No, the only reason I'm going with the over is just because, when you get a Nationals team with this kind of total, it's always worth a look, I think, to me. They're a team that's going to put runs on the board. And not one, but both these bullpens have major issues. And you look at the last game, DeGrom pitched. He was brilliant. 13 strikeouts, only to watch the bullpen blow the lead. So, look, I don't think either side's ever safe when their bullpens come in. So 6.5, like you said, if you can get a 3-2 game late, that game probably will get over the total. So, 7, maybe I'm not interested, but 6.5, I would take a shot with that.
Yeah, definitely might be something to listen to there. Next game on the rotation, Jeff, we have the Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds. Rotation 9:55, 9:56, 7:10 Eastern Standard Time start. Line opened up there at SBRodds.com, -163. And of course, it's ballooned up. Lester's on the mound. The Cubs are on the mound. There's always a nice tax on them. Looks like Pinnacle, Chris, hovering right around 186. You even have Sportsbook.com, Jeff, at over 200. Another one of those we like to get a chuckle at in April, a favorite being more than 2-1. Adelman's going to be on the mound for the Cincinnati Reds. Just a little bit of snippets here. Right-handed pitcher, 13 starts in 2006. ERA pedestrian, Jeff, at 4.0, a whip of 1.20. So certainly not an ace by any stretch. It is going to be his first start of the season. Chicago, however, hasn't handled right-handed pitching very well at 4-7 to the number. 4-1 versus a team, though, with a winning record. Cincinnati 0-2 versus left-handed pitching in 2017, just to start. This is another one that I look at there, Jeff. I don't like to, back a guy who hasn't had a start yet, but also I'm not backing a road team that's going to be hovering over minus 200. The total itself here, Jeff, sitting around 8.5. I see some of them have backpedaled to 8. I'm really not interested too much in this game. Again, it's all about value in April. Chicago, the better pitching matchup here, sure, but I'm not laying 2-1.
Yeah, last year this would have been a really good run line candidate for the Cubs, but not now. The Reds kind of have a pitching staff right now. Their numbers look like it. They're pitching pretty well for the most part. Yeah. Bullpen's been pretty good, but Edelman's a guy that for me is probably more of a long reliever than a guy to come in and give you I don't think he's going to give you 6-7 innings. I think if you have the ability to get that Cincinnati bullpen for 4 innings, probably the Cubs will win this game probably. But again, I'm not going to continue to tell you that I'm not going to lay 190. It's just not something I'll do. In a parlay with something else, yeah, I think that's a good bet. Maybe to help your to get you plus money or something with another bet. But, I will point out Cincinnati, just 2 games this year against left-handed pitching, but only hitting 152. Yeah. That's something they've struggled with. So, Lester, a guy who's still a very good pitcher. I'm not looking to bet Cincinnati here. There's not really any triggers that would say I want to bet Cincinnati. Plus, Cubs have owned them in Cincy over the years. 15 of 19 they've won. How many of them are by 2 or more runs, I don't know. But Cubs starting to kind of come out of it a little bit. So, yeah, I wouldn't be looking at the Reds here.
Yeah, a couple guys rested there on the Cubs yesterday, so their lineup should be full tilt and ready to go. A game, obviously, that it's early on in the season, but again, we always get back to that point. It's about value betting, and I don't see too much there, so I do agree with you in that one. Next game up on the rotation, Jeff, 9:57, 9:58. We have St. Louis and Milwaukee. Milwaukee, one of those live dogs, actually absolutely pounding and raking at the plate. Adam Wainwright coming into this game a little bit struggling. Fast Willie Peralta, Jeff, one of your guys out there making a name for himself early in the season. Couple little snippets on this one. St. Louis just isn't right, and certainly isn't right on the road. 1-6 overall so far. Milwaukee likes that nightlife. 8-3 overall in night games played. Wainwright in his 3 starts struggling. 5 innings, 4 innings, 4 1/3 innings. Not looking too good. And also, Jeff, the St. Louis bullpen, a mess. ERA over 6. If I'm looking at this one, opening line here, minus 104. Wainwright is getting the money here, 51% of the tickets, and a lot more overall money pouring in on St. Louis here. So it looks like that line is moving in the right direction if you are a Cardinals backer. Willie Peralta, when does he come back to regression here, Jeff?
He hasn't. He's pitched really well into last season, at the end of last season. Yeah, this is, for me, kind of a play against Wainwright. First of all, you look at the Cardinals, they're 1-6 on the road this year. Yep. They're just not that good. I don't know how else to say that. Adam Wainwright, it's not that he's, we all know he's getting older, but, you look at, his start to the year. He's logged just 13 2/3 innings in 3 starts. So for anyone that's not really too much into baseball, that means he's not going deep into games. He's throwing a lot of pitches. You look at pitches per inning, Donnie, 20. That's a lot of pitches per inning.
Astounding. Yeah, it is.
10 of his 15 leadoff hitters, Donnie, have gotten on base. And for me, against a Milwaukee team that is murdering the ball right now, you look at Dames. This is interesting, Eric Dames. He comes out of nowhere. He's hitting, 400 plus? Ton of home runs. Kind of concerning. But, yeah, last year, I think a lot of people will look at this game and say, Adam Wainwright against Willie Peralta, I'll take it. Brewers suck, But I think the Brewers are the sharp side here. The problem I have is, like I've said before, when I'm getting an underdog like this, and I'm not getting too much back, what am I getting? Even money on this?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
It's just not really that worth it to me. If I'm going to put my money in the hands of the Brewers for 3 hours with Willie Peralta on the mound, I want to get a little bit back. Yeah. At this price, I'm really not getting that back. But I think the Brewers are a pretty good play here, actually. But Wainwright's had a lot of issues.
Yeah, certainly a lot of issues on the road, too, Jeff. 0-2 on the road, 9.34 ERA, whip 2.884. That doesn't really bode well, especially, you're not rolling in here, Jeff, versus Kansas City, where you say, you know what, Wainwright, let's get back on track. Let's see what you got. This is a team that you don't want to face if you're not lining up, your game on the mound in order to be efficient.
And the thing is, I mean, at 103, what is it, 102, 103? There's no value at all in taking the Brewers. There's none. I
Yeah,
mean,
he's jumped up a little bit there. It looks like, looking at Chris and five dimes, Jeff, about minus 119. Must have some movement since we've been on the air in a little bit. Tickets are pretty much even, too.
Yeah, I'm looking for at least 120, I mean, I would lean Brewers, but it's just not enough for me right now.
Yeah, another interesting game on the rotation, 959, 960, San Francisco and Colorado. Johnny Cueto on the mound, 3 starts this year. Team is 3-0. Decent ERA, 3.79. Whip is at 1.211. Looks like Chatwood 1-2 heading into 3.54. So a little bit of tough luck there for Tyler Chatwood. Taking a look at the numbers, of course, San Francisco getting back. Johnny Cueto's a big number. 59% of the tickets coming on, 81% of the money on the San Francisco Giants. Opened up at minus 110, has increased a little bit. If you're looking at SBRodds.com, you can find 5 dimes at minus 121 here. A little bit of snippets. There are snippets here. Johnny Cueto, 7 innings, 2 earned runs. Last start versus Colorado, which was only about a week ago. Chatwood countered there with 9 innings, strong, 0 runs given up. So one to keep an eye on. San Francisco 3-7 versus right-handed pitchers. Colorado, a good bounce back team, Jeff, at 4-1. So if you're looking at overall value in this one, you have a nice short number if you want to take a road favorite here. Colorado waiting for those bats to come out, and especially the same situation with San Francisco. Can Coors turn back into Coors? Because as we've seen over the first part of the season, Jeff, Colorado's just not hitting it home yet.
They're not. And you look at the over-under numbers, 12-4 to the under this year. I mean, that's really kind of unheard of.
It is. Really is. Yep.
Listen, if I can get Cueto, if I can get Chatwood, who's a pretty good pitcher, a first half under at 5.5, first 5 innings, that's pretty much good for me. I'll go with that. That's something I've ridden at Coors Field, the under first 5. A lot of the time, the runs are scored late in the game anyway. I could see that happening here. Cueto is still probably my favorite pitcher personally. I just like him as a pitcher. I enjoy him, watching him, and but you look at him, he's kind of opened up the year, kind of tough, but I think he has the stuff. We all know he's a really good pitcher. And you mentioned it, Donnie. I mean, this Colorado Rockies team not hitting, 207 at home. Most of their games are going under in Coors. Mm-hmm. I would lean first 5 under here. I think this is a pretty fair number. I mean, you're getting 5 runs to play with here. You're still a winner, especially with Cueto on the mound and 2 teams that have kind of struggled to hit the baseball. I'll go with first 5 under here.
Yeah, Jeff, also another little bit of information. San Francisco, last 4 games, they've been shut out in 2 of those. And the wind is blowing in today in Colorado, so you're not getting that extra bump. I know it's Colorado. The air's light. It's not going to make that big of a difference. But wind blowing in at 11 versus blowing out at 11 could make the difference between one of those, Coors fly, long fly balls that hits on the warning track or goes over the fence.
Yeah, the one problem you're having with the full game under is you have the bullpens. You also have a lot of people are starting to buy into the under stuff with the Rockies. So you're kind of losing some.
Probably losing that half run that usually would see this game, maybe 10.5 or 11 in that situation.
Right.
I agree.
That's interesting you say that, because when I was looking at it earlier, it was 10. I look at it now, it's 9.5. So you're definitely losing that. You mentioned the wind conditions. I'll just look to worry about the 5. I want to worry about the starting pitchers here. I don't want to get involved because I don't think Colorado's bullpen is a bullpen that long-term they're going to give runs up. It's Coors. I'm just not going to screw around with that. I'll go first 5 under 5.5.
All right, keep it moving on here. Next game up on the rotation, 961, 962. We have Wood versus Taijuan Walker. 55% of the early tickets, Jeff, coming in on the Dodgers. Line opened up at SBRodds.com around minus 130. Has gone up slightly there, about minus 130, minus 137, minus 136 at Sportsbook.com. If we take a look across the board in this one, just to give a little bit of a prep also, Dodgers 5-2 versus right-handed pitching. Also 2-5 after a win. Arizona, stellar home team, Jeff, 6-1 overall to start the season. And I know you've liked the Arizona bats. You do have a good read on Arizona coming from, I know even when we were talking in late March before the season even began. Interesting pitch-up matchup here on the road. You have a lot of firepower there with Taijuan Walker. Alex Wood, not overall your power pitcher. And the LA Dodgers got to be happy that at least Taijuan Walker is not a left-handed pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona, 10 wins already. I only need about 60 more, and I'll be good to go with the future. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm not really interested in laying 140 with Alex Wood. I mean, really? I mean, come on. These lines with the Dodgers getting kind of ridiculous. I mean, again, I mean, Arizona 6-1 at home, hitting what do we got? 313 in Chase Field, 7 runs a game, which is yet again another thing that they've switched from last year. They were a bad home team last year. They're starting to win games at home, really starting to be a really tough thorn in people's sides. They also, if you look at this lineup, have pretty good numbers against Alex Wood. For me, this is a play on the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think they're getting a lot of value early on in the season. You're going to get a really nice price back on a team that I think right now is better all around than the Dodgers are. Arizona's hitting the baseball. Tylen Walker's a kid that I trust. I think his command's going to be just fine. And at home, against a guy in Alex Wood, I'm going to go with the underdog here. It's just worth it for me.
Yeah, agree. Next game up on the docket. I have 4 games today, folks, that I have circled that I'm going to be taking a deeper look at as the afternoon goes on. This next one has definitely been circled for me. Rotation 963, 964, Miami Marlins versus the San Diego Padres. It's Connolly versus Cahill. The reason why I have a flag up on this game, 72% of the early tickets are going on Miami with 73% of the money, so it's certainly heavy. If we flip that over, San Diego only getting 28% of the tickets. Line opened up at Pinnacle, minus 123 in favor of the Marlins. That line is now dipped down to minus 112 in that area, looks like, with 5 dimes with Sportsbook as well as the Greek. So that line is in reverse. We're going to take a deeper look at that. So right now I have early circled San Diego there. One of the teams that I do think is kind of interesting. They haven't had a great start to the season, Jeff. San Diego, 7-10 overall. But to be honest, after the way they opened up and the way they were set up, I think San Diego fans and San Diego as an organization will take that 7-10 all day long to start.
Well, I mean, how could they not? I mean, they were a team that was picked by someone, this chat box, to win 50 games, which we all know is a little bit of a ridiculous number. But, yeah, look, I mean, for me, Donnie, I do get where the money's coming from here. Connolly's been very good this year to start the year. We've talked about the Marlins lineup. And you look at the San Diego Padres against left-handed hitting or left-handed pitching. In 6 games, they're hitting 195. So, I mean, you also got Cahill kind of resurfacing here as a starter. Yeah, I get where the money's coming from. I would bet the Marlins, but they're not a team that I'm going to be looking at back tonight. I like them in this spot. They'll win, but like you said, it just little too many people in this game for my liking. So for me, I think Miami will win. I just don't want to bet San Diego against a left-handed pitcher.
Yeah, no, we both always talk about it, Jeff, on the shows that we have. Like, I'm a big fan of that Marlins lineup. I think it's much, much better than San Diego overall, man for man. I know Will Myers has been hot for the Padres, getting a little bit decent of that bullpen. And again, the Marlins on that road trip, after playing the Mets in a tough series, going out to Seattle, now coming back down the coast. They're still on the road. We'll see how it matches up, so to speak, there. But the early numbers there, just enough to give me a little bit of an eye raise where I might want to dig into that before, if you were taking the Miami Marlins, just something to see how that plays out throughout the day. Next game up on the docket, Jeff, big matchup here in the AL East. 965, 966 on the rotation. Drew Pomeranz versus Dylan Bundy, who's been sensational so far. Early betting action, Jeff, no surprise. Baltimore's a really good home team. 55% of the tickets, 57% of the money. So a pretty even balance here. Opened up at minus 115. Actually, that line is going a little bit in reverse, Jeff. Minus 103. 5 dimes, minus 103, Chris. So it has taken a little bit of a backdoor here. If we're taking a look, Boston on the road, 3-4 overall. Great effort by Sale yesterday. Bailed out in extra innings. So at least, he doesn't get the actual win, but he did, go 8 innings of shutout baseball. Kimbrel gives up the solo shot in the 9th, and off we go. Baltimore 4-1 at home, 8-3 versus the division. Both bullpens on paper right now very good, but let's keep in mind, Britton is out in the 9th inning here, and we'll see if that might play into it as well.
Yeah. And look, the Baltimore Orioles are 1-3-64 at home over the last 3 years. They're 4-1 this year. They made a lot of money at home last year. For me, guys, and I'm going to say this, I would recommend you do it as well. Blind bet the Orioles every game at home, maybe other than when Ubaldo pitches, but they're really good at home. They're a team that will win a lot more games than they lose at home. That's just what they do. And they're an underdog here at home with Dylan Bundy on the mound, who's been very good to start the season. He faced Boston, Donnie, in his first start, didn't get any run support. They only scored 1 run for him on the road. But back at home here, I think this is a nice spot to take the Orioles. Friday night down in Camden Yards, beautiful day out. I think it'll be a really nice night for baseball. And I think for Pomeranz, I don't particularly like him on the Red Sox. I don't think a lot of people do. And I know it's in a different ballpark, but For me, I'll take the Orioles lineup. I'll take Dylan Bundy. I'll take an underdog price if I can get one at home, a place that they've been money in. I think they're the play in this game.
Yeah, last couple games with Baltimore heading to Cincinnati, two technically higher scoring teams. After taking a loss with Gausman on the mound 9-3, they did bounce back nice with a 2-0 win with Ubaldo Jimenez, and one Wade Miley on the mound gets another 2-1 win. Hopefully those bats shake out a little bit for Baltimore here, get out of that funk. And we've seen in the past, Jeff, as you said, at home, they're a much different team.
I will say this, though. If they want to compete in the AL East and the AL in general, they have to address the pitching situation. I mean, Chris Tillman's been injured. Kevin Gausman has really struggled to start the year. And, look, I mean, you don't have a lot of, do you trust Wade Miley? Do you trust other than Tillman and maybe Bundy, do you really have any trust? I think that's the one Achilles heel for this team. They have a good bullpen. They have a good lineup. They have plenty of stars. They have that, superstar Machado. I think this will be a team at the deadline that will make a deal. They have to get a pitcher, I think.
Yeah, no, I would agree. But this is one of those early season games you want to keep an eye on that might shape that. I know the Yankees are on their heels as well, but a lot of teams firing, big firepower there in the AL East. Yeah. Good
point on the chat by this thing we do. Mookie does like Camden, and he's got good numbers against Bundy. But this is really just a play that I make every night. Baltimore's just a team that I look to back at home. That's just kind of, they've been that good for me. So I'll take it.
Yep. Another game that I'm going to circle the wagons a little bit here coming up on the rotation. Houston versus Tampa Bay, rotation 967, 968, Fires versus Cobb. One of those indicators that I love to look at here in the month of April. 38% of the tickets coming in on Houston, 68% of the money. Line opened up with Tampa Bay as a slight favorite at -106, has peeled in reverse. And now Chris and Five Dimes are showing them as a favorite. Chris has them up to -117 on SBRodds.com. So that's one we're going to take a look at, one of the exact indicators that we like. Something has to give in this one, Jeff. You know me. I'm a big proponent over the past couple years in betting in Tampa Bay, especially at home. They're one of those live dog type situations each and every night because the betting public doesn't give them that much respect. Sneaky type of lineup, but they have played well here as of late. Houston, however, 8-1 early on the season, Jeff, versus right-handed pitching, 7-3 after a win. So they don't even need to be a bounce-back club. They're very good even off wins. Tampa Bay, again, get back to the point, early season, 8-2 at home. So one of those games I'm going to be keeping an eye on Houston as a possible play here, depending on where those tickets end up. But I'm going to dip into a little bit more. We've been high on Houston. I know, Jeff, you're a big fan of Cleveland in the AL, but we also have been keeping an eye on Houston. The Bats hopefully will start to wake up here. They had a good start to the season, though.
They have woken up, Donnie. You look at the last, on the road this year, 4-1, 3.02 average. This team's won 7 of 8 overall. Had a real nice series over the first half of the week here against the Angels. And now they're heading on the road to play a team in Tampa Bay, who you mentioned, very good offensively at home. Steven Souza, Miller, Longoria, plenty of guys that can bang the ball out of the park. They're scoring runs, 5.5 runs a game at home. I kind of like the over in this spot at 8. I think Houston will continue to put runs on the board. That's a team that is really starting to feel themselves right now offensively. They're hitting home runs. They're putting, Bregman starting to find his way out of it. And last night, I don't believe Correa even played. So he's going to have a little day off yesterday. So, Houston's playing well. I will say, Donnie, at this price, it's hard to not like Houston. I get the point on why people are betting Houston, but I'm just not interested in Michael Fiers. I don't want to bet on him. I think the over is kind of worth a look here. When do you ever see Tampa Bay hitting as a club 287 anywhere? So they like home cooking. So maybe the over here.
Yeah, one thing with Tampa that not very many people are going to show up at their ballpark, and also they always like to have that stigma, Jeff, as they like to have a catcher that hits like 0.25 or 0.025 on the season, maybe a single here and there, and no runs batted in. Hopefully, that's going to change for them this year as well.
Who is it? Their catcher now,
Casali or whatever. I mean, it's just they actually got somebody though, free agent. That was a knee injury, right?
I'm pretty sure, they're Derek Norris is their catcher.
Norris, I'm sorry, yes, but didn't they also get somebody else back there also?
I'm trying to remember.
The kid from Washington, right? Is it Ramos?
I forget, honestly. Oh yeah, Wilson Ramos. Yeah, he's on the 60-day DL though, so he's that's going to be pretty long term. And Colby Rasmus, they picked him up. He's been out. But Norris is, he's a little better than like a Roberto Perez type of guy. But yeah, they seem to always have that catcher. I remember for years they had Hank Conger, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was a mess. But yeah, I would go over here, I think.
All right, next game up in the rotation, the Kansas City Royals versus the Texas Rangers, 969, 970. That's Carnes and Hamels. Early indicators opening up. Obviously, Cole Hamels at home is going to be a heavy bet player there. 70% of the tickets coming in. Opened up at minus 145, Jeff. Sitting currently around minus 150, so not a lot of line movement here. The one thing that we always like to look at with Kansas City, Jeff, can they score? Can they score even 2 runs in a game? They're getting very good pitching lately here and wasting it for the most part. Even last night, did that game go 13 or 14 innings with a 1-0 game? We'll see if they can have a bounce back here this evening. Just taking a look at a few things. Kansas City 2-5 on the season on the road. Texas 1-6 versus teams with a losing record. So certainly playing down to their competition. Both bullpens, bit of a struggle on the season. One thing I do like in that ballpark is technically down there in Texas, it's a hitting ballpark. Keep in mind, at the start of this game, you're going to have 18-mile-an-hour wind conditions blowing in from right field here.
Yeah, I would look with the Royals in this game. I think Texas is worse than Kansas City offensively. Look at the numbers. Kansas City's better offensively right now than Texas is. Yeah. Texas has struggled. I don't think they're a very good team, to be honest. I said it the other day. I think they suck, to be honest.
What is it? Just waiting on Beltre? Something else has to give. That team used to be able to rake.
If you're waiting on Adrian Beltre, who's pretty old at this point, that's not a good recipe. And Cole Hamels, has had an issue with home runs. And how do you back Texas? Their bullpen sucks. I guess Cole's a guy that I would prefer to have start. But I'll tell you what, Nate Carnes has been pretty good in 2 games against Houston and the Angels, only giving up 2 runs in 2 games against, 2 pretty decent lineups. So, yeah, I think there's some value here on the Kansas City Royals at this price. You mentioned they're going to struggle to score some runs, but I'm not interested in Texas.
Yeah, I'll tell you, interesting one also brought up on the chat box there. Sounds like the under is the play in this one. For 2 teams that struggle at the plate with 2 pitchers technically that, are decent pitchers, opened up at 9, was bet down immediately to 8.5, but still looking at both of these teams, it might as well be 16.5 when you hang a number of 9 there with these 2. So, maybe Las Vegas knows a little bit more than we know about tonight, but until I see it, I can't bet it.
How many times do you think Phil Marino is going to say that Cole Hamels isn't the pitcher he used to be? What is he going to do it 100 times on this chat box? You do it every time he pitches? We get it. You don't think he's a good pitcher. We do. So get over it. This thing we do, great stat. 13-2 to the under, first 5 the Royals. That's fantastic. Fantastic stat. I see it. Both these teams are under City. Both teams hitting under 210. So yeah, it could get ugly, but I think at that price, I'll go with it.
Who are you going with there?
I'll go with the Royals.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't have too much on that game until I see, a little bit of things play out. I have a couple games coming up as well, which I'll give some thoughts on. Next game on the docket, Jeff, 2 struggling, quote-unquote, aces of their staff. Cleveland and the Chicago White Sox. Rotation 971, 972. Chris Kluber, Jose Quintana. Early betting indicators give Cleveland an edge here. 68% of the tickets coming in on Cleveland, Jeff, but only 39% of the money. Line opened up at 145, sitting with Chris at minus 150. 5 dimes also right around that range at minus 149. Just to give you little looks at this game, Kluber shelled in his last outing versus Detroit. Quintana shelled in his last outing versus Minnesota, so something has to give. Cleveland, albeit 6-3 overall on the road. Chicago White Sox, one of those teams we thought would struggle, 5-1 here, Jeff, off of a loss, so something to look at. I don't have too much on this game betting-wise. I'm going to take a look to see how that line goes down, but one would think Cleveland is the overall better team, but can you trust Kluber just yet, hanging a minus 150 on the road here?
Kluber will pick it up. Cleveland picking it up. 7 run, last 7 games, 307 as a club. So starting to pick it up, which we knew they would. Kluber will be fine. He's had a little bit of a struggle to start the year here, but I think this is just a medicine for him. The Chicago White Sox, who have had issues, you've talked about it. Your cleanup hitters, Cody Ash, for God's sakes.
And Todd Frazier, what mystery illness do we have? Does he have, West Nile virus or something?
Yeah. He had some weird injuries last year, I remember. And you look at Quintana, he's kind of been he's had a tough start as well. This is interesting that the numbers, the under's getting bet down. People are betting the under here, and looks like sharp money.
7, yeah, how about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's sharp money. No, public's not betting this game under, especially if you look at these two pitchers, ERA.
Yeah, true.
Public's going to bet the over here. That's sharp money on the under. And you have two really good bullpens. White Sox have been really good in the bullpen. I think, we all know Cleveland's got a good bullpen. I don't have much in this one. This is tough because I think Kluber will be fine tonight. I think the Indians will win. So maybe a good parlay piece. Am I betting 150? Probably not. Just kind of too high for me. I think Cleveland will win fairly easily. Maybe 5-2, something like that. I think they get the job done here. I think the run line's probably a decent play. I think Kluber will get it turned around tonight.
By the way, Jeff, early on in the chat box, we had somebody mention to you, who do you think are some of the better bullpens, maybe a top 5 or a top 10? Yeah. If you're looking at this game here tonight, I mean, we know what Cleveland's going to bring to the table as the season goes on. Not too shabby, 3.17, but damn, Chicago White Sox with a 1.41 ERA out of the bullpen. Doesn't matter how bad your team is. If your bullpen is throwing like that, you're in every game.
Yeah, I think right now the top 5, personally, to me, would be Baltimore, Chicago White Sox, the Yankees, Cleveland. Who else? It's definitely Chicago. It sucks they have such a bad
Baltimore Yanks.
I think Houston's bullpen's pretty good.
Boston's been really good to start the season too, Jeff. 2.29 ERA.
Yeah.
How about the Dodgers? 1.33, I believe I saw.
Sure. All good. I think some of the worst, just to throw that in there, there are a lot of bad ones. I mean, Atlanta, the Phillies, the Mets, the Nationals have a mess of a bullpen. Really anyone that we didn't mention as a good bullpen is a bad bullpen. There are plenty more bad ones than good ones, though, for sure. Texas is a mess.
These numbers are correct, Excel. Same thing. This thing we do on the chat box, only a matter of time before the White Sox bullpen blows up. It's pretty hard to improve on what they have here, so I would tend to agree that they'll go back to a little bit of a regression as the summer goes on.
Yeah, I mean, but, just to kind of, not play devil's advocate, but kind of just go, kind of touch on that a little bit. I mean, the names in that bullpen aren't bad. I mean, Robinson's a pretty good closer. Nate Jones, Putnam. I mean, they're kind of names that have been there for a while, but yeah, I mean, they're not going to get any better, I don't think. So I guess the only way is down. But, they've been really good so far. Julian, I'll have plenty of soccer. I got one play today, which I'll give out, and I'll have a lot of plays tomorrow and Sunday. Big weekend on the pitch. We'll get to that for sure.
Next game up on the docket, Jeff, as we move through 4 games to go over here. We have Detroit, Minnesota, rotation 973, 974. Justin Verlander and Hector Santiago, early betting indicators here for us, Jeff. 67% of the public are betting Detroit. Line opened up at -117. But that line is moving up heavily here, -140 at Chris if you check out SBRodds.com. So the public certainly is backing Verlander here. Only 33% of the wagers coming in on Minnesota. If we take a look today, Detroit, no surprise. I mean, when they line up against lefties, 4-0 this year. Minnesota only 3-7 versus right-handed pitching. Verlander, however, on 2 road starts this year, Jeff, 9.58 ERA. Santiago, 2 home starts, sparkling 0.75 ERA. Something has to give. Looks like both the betting public and possibly the sharps here are moving on Justin Verlander. Interesting dichotomy here in this early season matchup in the AL.
Yeah. A little bit, after watching that video of his was it wife, Kate Upton is his wife.
Yeah, what is he? He's winning even if he's losing on the dime.
Yeah,
right?
we talked good time again. But yeah, this is a tough one for me. I mean, the Twins are starting to come back to reality. They've lost 5 or 6. Yeah. So that downturn has begun and more. And Detroit's won 14 of 19 in Minnesota. I'll tell you what, Donnie, it's just not something. I'm just not keen on betting against Detroit. Their lineup is still fairly good. Yeah. They got some good young players. Kinzer's not really had a good year to start the year. Neither is Miggy. So even with all they've done, they still haven't had the production that they probably should. Minnesota's been down and out, and they're going to keep getting worse. Donnie, Byron Buxton, 0.82. I mean, at what point
that's actually good for him.
I mean, at what point are you going to say he's 4 for 49?
No.
He hasn't translated. Let's send him down for a while. I mean, it's just not working. He can't hit major league pitching. I don't know what else to say. This is a first round, second pick overall. I mean, what a mess.
Yeah, it's supposed to be one of those savior guys, top of the lineup. You can't get him out.
Yeah. But these two bullpens, I'm not fond of taking unders. Maybe a first 5 under. I feel like Verlander will pitch here. Both pitchers would be pretty good, but I have no real opinion on this game. This is a game I'll be far away from.
Yeah, a little bit too rich for my blood. Next game up on the rotation, another one that I have circled for tonight, fellas. We're going to take a look at Toronto versus the Angels, late toast versus Meyer. Early betting indicators all over Toronto at 62%. Line opened up at -130 in the favor of the Angels and has since been bet here, Jeff, up to -145, somewhere in that -140 range. If you're taking a look there at SBRodds.com, only 38% of the tickets on LAA. Take a look at this one tonight, Jeff. Meyer, a career 6.75 ERA guy. Toronto 2-9 versus right-handed pitching. The public backing Toronto in the situation. If you want to take a look at Meyer, it sort of has the feel last night, Jeff, of, not pitching matchup-wise, but just the one guy starting. I like to say Cesar Exxon Valdez last night with Oakland and then picking up the win as a heavy underdog to the public. Has that same feel for tonight. So I'm going to check in a little bit later to see what type of tickets are piling up here. But 80% of the money is backing a Toronto team that has yet to woke up, and Matt Latos is on the mound. That should be a ring bell right there for you.
Yeah, Latos is trash. I mean, he's been trash for many years. I remember our old friend Lex Ka used to hate Matt Latos. If we could say I have a moment of silence for Lex Ka. But Matt Latos is not a guy I'd be interested. I'd take a flyer on Meyer here. Why not? I mean,
what has Toronto showed you? They can't hit. Not only can they not hit right-handed pitch, they can't hit any pitching. They can't play on the road. They're 1-5.
Right. But the problem here is I don't want to lay 140 with Meyer. So
that's an unbelievable number. That's unbelievable, that number for him.
I guess maybe over. I mean, both these pitchers I would imagine would give runs up, but I mean Toronto, I feel like if I went out on the mound they couldn't hit me. So I don't know.
Jeff opened up at 9, dipped about 8.5 in that situation. But again, you're not looking at 2 shutdown bullpens, and you're not looking at 2 shutdown pitchers as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is a crazy number, man. I guess maybe you could lean on the fact that at least Matt Latos, has been he's a veteran. He's, been there before, but he's also pretty poor as well. Meyer, you mentioned some of the numbers. Brutal. This is not interested at all here.
Yeah, no, definitely it's one I'm actually interested in the Angels because that number to me is baffling how he not only would open as a favorite, but be bet up another 15 cents. I'll keep an eye on that. Next one up on the docket also, Jeff, I do have circled. That is Seattle and Oakland, 977, 978, Iwakuma versus Minaya, 67%. Early tickets coming in on Seattle here. Line opened up at -125, hanging in that same direction despite 82% of the money here, Jeff, on Seattle. If we take a look at a quick breakdown here, the one thing Seattle does struggle with, 1-7 on the road. Oakland, that sneaky team, only hanging out at 5-5 at home, but they have been playing much better baseball. Iwakuma, 2.25 ERA in his 2 starts on the road here. Bullpen's not very good. Seattle hovering near a 6. Surprising, Jeff. Seattle is the underdog here, though, if you look at the overall numbers, right?
Yeah, these are 2 teams I'm not a big fan of betting on. I don't really have much. Seems like every time I bet Seattle, the opposite happens. And Oakland, Minaya was so good last week against Houston, but, he had threw too many pitches. So I don't know. It's a coin flip game to me. I'll let the degenerates late night battle over this one.
We always talk about it because we'll be going the late night at campus tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That game will be on for us. We'll be going at it.
This is I feel like if you're betting this game, you really maybe should, maybe learn that, kind of slow it down a little bit. You don't need to bet every game. Look, Iwakuma is still a guy that I still kind of trust a little bit, but the Mariners, who the hell knows? Sometimes they look really good. Sometimes they are a clown show, like this thing we do says. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that line is an indicator also, Jeff. Maybe some smoke signals already out from Seattle that maybe, Robbie Cano, left-handed batter, might sit the game out tonight. So you always want to know that Vegas usually has a little bit more information than most of us do. Maybe they know something we don't with maybe a little bit of rest conditions there.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Last game on the rotation, Jeff, your New York Yankees and CC Cy Young Sabathia on the mound. The way he's began the season, no surprise here, Jeff. Everybody's caught on to the Yankees. 79% of the tickets here. 113 is a favorite. Pittsburgh opens up with. It has swung over to CC's favor, now showing at Chris at -110, sportsbook.com, -111, the Greek at -110 on SBRodds.com. No surprise there. Pittsburgh shuffling. The Yankees, a hot team. What do you see happening here with CC taking the mound on the road here?
Not betting against the Yankees.
Yeah.
They'll be on my
By
card.
the way, Jeff, 3-0 in interdivision play here, or interleague play, excuse me.
Plus, they've won 9 of 10. I mean, you look at Pittsburgh against lefties this year, 1-4, hit 174. Vintage CC Sabathia. It seems like ever since he came back from rehab, he's been a new man. And it's nice to see. I've always been a CC guy. I do kind of relate to him a little bit. We are kind of bigger guys, so I respect him. I do like what he does. And he has been really good against the Pirates in his career. 4-0, he's never lost a sub-2 ERA. This Pirates team is just a mess. I mean, they have issues off the field. Don't forget, not only is Starling Marte out for a long period of time, Jung Ho Kang can't even get into the country. So they have major issues right now as a club. They're not winning games, and they have Glass now on the mound, who you look at that ERA, I think it's 14 over the first couple of starts, has some command issues. He's been
struggling too in Pittsburgh too, Jeff.
As long as Girardi doesn't fuck it up, they'll be fine. But we all know he has a penchant for screwing things up when the going's good. So, I don't know. I'm not betting the Pirates, put it that way. I think this thing we do makes another great point. Glasnow's just not ready for the prime time. That's a great point. He has been getting lit up. I think the Yankees are in great form right now. They look a little bit like Juventus in soccer. They're just in really good form. I'm not wanting to step in front of them. I'll go with the Yankees at a very nice bargain price.
There you go. And that'll wrap up the baseball card for today, folks. If you're following through the show, if you have just jumped on there, I have 4 games that I do have circled here. If you follow me on Twitter at RightSideVP, we'll be on at least one of these games later in the day. You can follow along. I'll certainly give those out. But again, that would be, give me 1 second, Jeff. San Diego, Houston, LAA, obviously the Angels, and also Oakland. I'm going to circle those 4 games. I'll be on at least one of those. Follow me on Twitter there. Go ahead, big man.
Yes, I'll kind of piggyback. I'll go a couple of the games I'll be looking at: Yankees, Diamondbacks. If you could still get 6.5 in that Mets Phillies or Mets Washington, I would go over. And I'll keep backing the Orioles at home. But there are some good spots today in baseball. Pretty solid card for the most part.
No, it's gonna be a good card here tonight. Next up on the docket, Jeff, I know we're gonna end the show a little bit later there with some football action, but I'll be remiss if we don't get into and talk about, if you had the Pacers yesterday, you were counting your money at the half, and rightfully so, only to have it collapse on down. And if you had 2.5, I saw some people had 3 out there. I don't know how they got +3, but they did. Nothing came to fruition if you had the Pacers. An unbelievable, epic collapse where LeBron absolutely took over. And Jeff, talk about the fourth quarter. You sit 2 of your 3 stars, and you still come back and pummel them. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers just can't beat Cleveland. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, they own them. I mean, and the Pacers are just, they have one player. They're like a lot like the Thunder. I mean, they have a decent supporting cast, but they're just not good enough to beat the Cavs. And yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of people clamoring that they had the Cavs last night. Good for you. I mean, congrats. The other team just blew their load. But I'll continue to fade the Cavs against the spread. I had people trying to tell me that their defense is decent. They'll be fine. Stop. Who are you trying to fool here? The defense sucks. They're going to get fucking yammed on against the Warriors. The Warriors are going to fucking own them in the finals. I can't fucking wait. I mean, just an epic collapse. And then you look at Toronto. I mean, what the hell was that all about? Yep. The Bucks own them. So you should hope for a Toronto bounce back, or that one could get ugly for my future. Tonight, Donnie, we got Boston and Chicago, which some interesting news came out about Rajon Rondo. He's going to be out for a while. So obviously Boston maybe has a little bit of a 4-leaf clover in their back pocket.
Yeah, it looks like, that line completely swung as you saw the Bulls opened up as a favorite around 1.5. Now, if you're looking out there, Pinnacle, Chris, sportsbook.com, all showing 2.5s. And I wouldn't be surprised, Jeff, the public likes to pile on if that number might even reach 3. Maybe if you have a really good value there on the Bulls. It's not like Tom Brady is out for the game for a point swing to go over that much. I always look to see maybe a little bit of overreaction here.
How's LeBron James not MVP every year? He's the best player every year. Come on, dude. Harden and Westbrook have been light years better than him this year. Come on, man. Stop. For one game, LeBron James dominates. And look, I'm not saying he doesn't always dominate, but Harden and Westbrook have been much better this year. They deserve it. Harden, come on, Don, you agree with that?
I have Harden as the MVP overall because to me, the MVP, you have to have a good basketball team. You have to be at least in the top 3 seeding there, one would think. And you have to have one of those extra career years. And again, LeBron can be the MVP every year the same way Shaq used to. But we all know the MVP is a shiny award, and it likes to say, look at my numbers are ridiculous and off the charts. One could call me a Westbrook hater because I honestly believe deep down Westbrook would rather have the game he had the other night, give me 50 points and a triple-double. And if we lose by 10, I really don't care. I got mine. I would almost see Westbrook as a guy who, if he had 11 points, 9 assists, and 3 rebounds, and they won, he would just be furious, and you couldn't even talk to him after the game. So I know, to me, Westbrook just a pure numbers guy, and that's all he cares about.
Russell Westbrook is very hard to like. I've noticed. Is he a great player? Sure, I love watching him on the basketball court, but he's not likable at all. He's not approachable. He doesn't seem like he ever wants to talk to anyone. He's just kind of negative. I like James Harden. I think as a person, I don't know if you know much about James Harden, Donnie, but I do. Really good story. Good guy to root for. And he's created a really nice brand for himself. I love Harden, and I think he's the MVP. But look, like people are saying, you can't count LeBron. Of course not. He's probably the second best player ever, third best player ever. But
he's been there and done that. Again, I get back to the point where it's really a numbers thing. If LeBron said, let me play and really just try to get stat minutes, he would be up there, obviously, in the conversation. But he's, moving older in his career, been there, done that, been the MVP, just looking more at titles now at this point.
I'm more or less saying at this point, I think you can agree with me. I said it last night about Barcelona. I'll say it about the Patriots. I respect everything they do. I respect the Cavs. I respect LeBron James, but I don't root for them. I actively would like to see them lose. But, LeBron's great. He's going to be there. I don't think beating the Pacers is any big thing. The East sucks. And that's, I think, one thing that legacy-wise, it's not like the East has been good for a number of years. This has probably been the weakest NBA in a long time. I think if you put LeBron in the game 10 years ago, I don't know that he'd be as good. Just my opinion, 20 years ago. But tonight, I think Houston, as a dog, how do you not take Houston, Donnie? And look, I get, it's kind of one of those things where Oklahoma City has to have it, but how do you not take Houston?
Yeah, 224, Jeff, also is what they opened up as the total in there. Any input or any ideas on, I know it's high, and Houston and the over is just synonymous with each other. How do you think that one goes? Everything pretty much has to go right to hit that in the playoffs, but we'll see.
Yeah, but with these two teams, it's not something I'd look to bet under. Both these teams, really don't play any defense. Both these teams score a ton. I think Houston, I'm sure they're a public side, but I just don't think the Thunder can win a game. Russell's great. Look, he drops 51 and they lose. They were up big in that game too.
Hero ball in the fourth quarter. Yeah, when he had 10 assists at the half, they're up. And then when he decides, again, this all gets back to Westbrook. Westbrook, people say, oh, I feel bad, this and that. No. Westbrook is exactly on a team he wants to be on. He didn't want Kevin Durant there trying to steal the shine and getting the ball. This is exactly what he wanted. Don't feel sorry for him.
Yeah, he's making money. He's the center of attention. Everybody knows him, and, that's what he wants. Last one here. What do we got? Late night.
Interesting ticket. Yeah, late night. Clippers, Jazz. Looks like the Jazz, big man at home, opened up -1, shifted over to the Clippers, -1.5. That's probably right up your alley on this one.
Yeah, I'm going Jazz here. They're, I think, a team that they've went small. It's been pretty good for them. It's kind of worked. They're back at home. When was the last time they've had a playoff game at home? It's been a number of years. I think that place will be rocking tonight. I think this game will kind of be not similar score-wise, but situationally-wise, last night to the Memphis or Toronto games. I think the Utah Jazz are worth the play here. Maybe straight up, get a little bit of a plus money back and avoid the juice.
Yeah, and that'll be enough for the NBA. It should be interesting tonight. So a lot of full card. And again, folks, if you want to check us out tonight, late night on campus, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on at SBR Sports Picks and also on SBR Sportsbook Review on YouTube. Click the subscribe button. Building up every day. Over 28,000 people now subscribing to the site. So we're doing big things, and I know a lot of people here enjoy what we're doing. Next up is hockey on the docket. Again, don't have much here.
Hey,
Boston and Ottawa tonight, and Toronto and Washington. What's up, big man?
I don't mean to cut it short. I got to jump off here pretty soon. I got
about 5 minutes. How long we got?
2 more minutes or so. I gotta
get the football, man. Give him.
I got my cleaning lady. She's up to my ears. She's pissed off that she's got to wait. So I tried to get her later. She couldn't come, and she's on vacation or something next week. So
you want to cut right to football for you or soccer?
Yeah, let's just cut right
ahead, man. Let's do it.
Tomorrow, I'll have plenty of plays. I just have one play today in football. Not a lot going on. I'm on Brighton Hove Albion, which is a English side, not Premier. It's the championship. Donnie, they're the first team to make it up to the Premier League. They've clinched promotion. They will be up at the big times next year. Haven't been up in the Premier League forever. So for their fans, it's huge. They rushed the pitch. It was awesome. Very nice thing for Brighton Hove Albion. Now clinched it. Now they got to win the whole thing. Let's go win that. They really need to keep winning. I think they want to beat Newcastle and really kind of take it to a team that's been time and time again in the Premier League. I think it'd be big for that club, big for that group. I think they go on the road and get the job done today. That draw no bet, I think, is a good play with Brighton. At worst, it's a draw. I'll take the plus 117 back. I think they win the game. Norwich City is a team that is one of the worst defensive sides in the championship. They give up a lot of goals. Brighton, off that momentum, I think they're going to continue to win. They still have a championship to win. I think they're going to want to clinch that here pretty soon. I think they may do it today or not, if not next week. I like Brighton Hove Albion plus 117 on the draw no bet. So if it's a pick and a draw, we get our money back. A win, we'd obviously cash. So at worst, we get a push there. I'm going to go with Brighton Hove Albion in football. No, I do not have to take a dump. That's not true. She's literally right outside. I got to jump off. But yeah, Donnie, Brighton Hove Albion in football today. That's my only football play. I'll be back tomorrow on the, maybe tonight on the show, I'll give them out.
Yeah, let's do it. Folks, check us out again at SBR Sports Picks, SBRodds.com. He's the big man on campus. I'm Donnie Rightside. We'll see you tonight on the late night on campus. Yeah.
Real quick. Hoffenheim, I'm not on that against Klon today. I'm not on anything else. Just too close to call out of those games. I'll just play with the one. But yeah, tune in tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern. We'll be back. We always have fun on Friday nights.